composition that has at least 30 different shapes. Those 30 different shapes can be circles. Like if you want to start off and do like some thumbnailing, you could do a whole page of like circles overlapping. You could decide that you're going to take a ruler and you're going to like break it up into angles. So maybe come up with some sketches first. If you're like, no, I know what I want to do, that's fine too. Maybe you want to do like circles and triangles, whatever you want to do at the end. You want to make sure that you have 30 shapes, okay? Both negative space and positive space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to the next page. Let's see, which one should we go with? We're going to go with this one, all right? So we've made that decision. It's kind of what I had in my mind before we started, so I'm going to go with that. So what you're going to do, right, is you have your piece of paper, is I'm going to break this up into 30 shapes. So I'm just going to start with one line. I would actually do it with a 2B or like a, what's this called? This is called like a number 2 pencil. Your ruler will hopefully take up most of the page. If you hate working with the spiral binding, you can always use the perforation lines and take it off. So it's your choice whether or not you want to keep things in your sketchbook. They see how it gets kind of problematic if I keep it in my sketchbook, but that's okay. I'm just going to work with it, right? And so I want to make sure that I have 30 different shapes. So right now we're just going to do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm going to keep going. I'm kind of going randomly. If you want to be more thoughtful and specific, you can, right? So I just made some more shapes. Okay, one thing I always want to do compositionally is think about where I'm going to put stuff. So the center of the page, bad idea. But this shape in the center is getting kind of big, so I want to block it out a little bit. So I'm going to go diagonals good, right? So I'm going to break that into more shapes. So let's do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. All right, so let's maybe go in this corner, break it up a little bit. Always think about your composition. Composition is key. Composition makes artwork really interesting and good and amazing. If I have more than 30, that's fine. I just want to make sure I have a basic of 30, because if I don't have a basic of 30, then I won't have enough squares to fill with what I want to do. All right, I'm going to go like that. So then what I'm going to do is what you're going to do in each shape is going to have its own value and its own pencil, right? So I'm going to first go through with my HB, and I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to take my HB, and I'm going to say this is my HB pencil, and I'm going to make this corner the darkest I can, okay? Then I'm going to decide that I'm going to find a place for my HB, and I'm going to make it HB, and I'm going to make it a mid-tone, okay? So that means like somewhere right in the middle. This square, I'm going to take my HB and I'm going to make it as light as I can. Okay? Lightest. Then, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do HB, right? Oop, you maybe can't see everything. I'm going to do my HB and I'm going to make this one my, like, not my darkest, but my darker. Okay? So I'm going to have my darkest, darker, mid-tone, lightest, and now I'm going to have a lighter. So I'm going to go HB and go lighter, okay? Probably before I start adding value into each of these squares, I'm probably going to want to erase the words first, but I just want to let you know that. So once I have that mapped out, I can go through all of my pencils, and that's what I want to do. I'm going to go through all of my pencils. But for right now, just so you can start seeing what it's going to look like, I'm going to take my HB pencil, and I'm going to make this square as dark as I possibly can. And you're probably going to get bored if I go on too long. So I'm going to just try to do it as dark as I can, as fast as I can. You're going to do a better job than me because you're not trying to make this a short video. You're going to make this a whole couple. We're going to spend about a week on this, maybe a week and a half, depending upon how it all goes. Because what I want you to do is really learn how to use your pencils. Your pencils are your friends, and we're going to be using them a lot in these first couple assignments. And then I want you to really get comfortable with them. So I'm going to color this square as dark as I possibly can. And if I knew how to do time lapse, I would do that for you. but I don't. So we're going to pretend that I've drawn this in as dark as I possibly can. Okay. Then we're going to go to darker, right? So I don't want it as dark as that first square, right? But I want to make it as dark as, not as dark. I definitely have to go darker because I still have 3 more values to do. So we're going to pretend that I've made this darker, lighter than this one, but not as dark as this one. All right, so I'm going to think about my value scale. I'm going to my value scale into 5 parts. All right, and we're going to go from there. So I'm going to need to make this a little bit darker, but we're going to leave it there for right now. And you want to do it nicer than I'm doing. At this point in time, I really should resharpen my pencil. But once again, this is a demonstration video, and so I don't think you want to wait for me to go sharpen my pencil again. But if you notice, this is dark, but not as dark as this first one, right? Then this one, right, I want to be my mid-tone value. So I want it not to be as dark as the first one, not to be as dark as the second one, a little bit lighter, but not too light. And if I go over into another square, that's okay. Not the end of the world. I have an eraser, which I forgot to bring over here with me. So I'm just going to try to get like a nice mid-tone value. So one thing I'm doing as I change these values is I am lightening my pressure of my pencil, right? Also, one thing to keep in mind whenever you're doing value is that your direction of your line, so what direction you move your hand in, actually affects what you're doing. Another thing you might want to do while you're doing this is you may also want to put a piece of newsprint or another piece of paper underneath your hand so that you're not smudging what you're doing. I should have picked really small areas for this demonstration. All right, so if you notice, darkest, darker, somewhere in the middle, right? And if I go too dark somewhere, I can take that kneaded eraser I have, and that's like the pliable one, and I can lighten things up. So if I feel like I've gone too dark on something, I can go back and do that. So now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make sure that it's lighter than this previous one, right? So I'm thinking about my value scale. This would be like 5 is the darkest. This would be a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. So the words are going to definitely show through here because I should have erased them first, but I wanted to get you to see the layout. So I'm definitely going lighter before. I'm lightening up my value. I'm using the edge of my pencil. I find whenever you're doing stuff like this, the edge of the pencil is better. All right. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go as light as I possibly can, right? So I'm going to take my pencil. Like I said, I should sharpen. I might even hold it instead of holding it like this, hold it on its edge, and I'm going to go as light as I can. Once I do all of these values, I would then take an eraser and lighten anything I need to lighten, right? I would darken things that need to go darker, and I would just play with it. All right. This is about A, creating kind of an interesting composition, but B, it's really about learning to control your pencils. So don't rush through it. Take your time to learn how to control your pencils, how to have it go in different ways, how to control the pressure of your hands, right? Any of you that are future doctors or scientists, this is really important hand control that you need to have for your possible future careers. And if you're a future artist, this is how you learn to control and have more emphasis on your art making abilities. And if you are going into some other totally different career, the observation and the pressure and like noticing these subtle changes will set you up for success, right? So right now, I'm probably going to go make this one like a little bit darker because I feel like these two values are too close together. So I'm going to go back, see how I'm like adjusting, right? I'm going to let this one go a little bit darker. I also could choose to take my kneaded eraser and lighten things up. All right. So I showed you how to do it with the HB. Now you're just going to choose a different pencil. Maybe you're going to choose like your 4H, and then you're going to map it out again, right? So I'm going to make sure, like if this is light, I'm going to put HBs next to some darks. So this is going to be like an HB4, and I'll try to make it light, right? Then I'm going to choose like a mid-tone part. Maybe this is going to be my lightest. And this is going to be my 4H. Then, okay, over here, I'm going to do my 4H at its absolute lightest. Your 4H at its lightest will be like so light. All right, so I've got, I already have a lightest. Mistake, 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 mistake. All right, so we won't make this the lightest. We'll make this the midtone, right? We're gonna make this a midtone because I wanna make sure I have 5 values for each one that I'm doing. So I have lightest, lighter, midtone. Now I need a dark. Ooh, I'll do 4H dark here. Then I will do the darkest 4H I can go. I'm going to make into this little tiny there, and then I'm going to make that the darkest. Okay, and then I would go through each of the pencils. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it does not.